Hi guys. Well, today I'm really not sure how all this is going to go, so I'm just going to start, and I want to show you some of the new things that we're going to have out, some of the Dresdens and some of the wooden torsos and pieces like that that Prima's going to be producing. I think they'll be released in September. So let's start with the wooden torsos. And this one actually, if you take a look at it here, you can see the torso. I've kind of made a little cage for it, and then I've attached some of the Dresden wings and a halo, and we don't have SKUs for those. I'll go through and read all of the SKUs for all of the other product that we're going to be using, but these are brand new, so we don't have any SKUs for those yet. But anyways, these are the torsos, the wooden torsos, and you can attach any of the faces go on them, like here. So you can use the torsos with any of the faces, and you can finish them in any way. They're just wooden, and then the faces work on them. Also, these are the small Dresden wings, which come like this in the package, and then you remove each one separately, and you can use them in a lot of different ways. These I've used on top of here, and then these are all paintable, and they're malleable, so you can bend them to conform to the shapes that you want to put them on. Here I've used one in this little box. Can you see that? And he's got the wings on the head here. Also, more of the torsos. It's just there's a couple of different sizes. There'll be a couple of different sizes in here. And that you can paint them and use any of the faces on them, and we're going to go into that a little bit more as well. Now, the Dresden comes like this in strips. So it's long strips, and then you just kind of remove the portion that you want to use, and you do it with your fingers. It's real simple. And it's paper backed on one side, and you do have to use glue with it. And on the other side is like a gold foil. See that? And it's really shiny, and you can bend these. And that's the best part about this. I don't really do a lot of metal work. I know a lot of people out there do, but I don't do a lot of metal work. So I wanted something that we could use to trim the pieces with. Like this ex voto has this exact Dresden on the edge here. And I don't know if you can see it really well there. So it's trimmed, and you just use glue, any kind of a thick glue, and you stick it on and glue it all the way around, and it just bends to the shape that you're using it on. So it can go all the way around really perfectly, and you get it all glued down, and it looks so nice too. It looks like a metal trim. It's done here on this cameo. You can see this piece with the same trim, and it's the same trim, and it comes in a couple of different sizes. So here I've glued it onto a crystal that you can then put on top of your relics. So we're going to be using some of this trim, some of the Dresden trims on the piece we're working on. Also, I just wanted to show you, here I've trimmed the chandelier, one of the chandelier pendants with another set of wings, a smaller set of wings. So you can use them for a lot of different things, a lot of different applications. Now, these are also another piece I wanted to talk about. They're part of the Dresden also, and these look kind of a little bit like snowflakes, but I'm going to use them sort of like rays or like a halo. And you can put them behind your relics pieces and make just a really nice, like this will make a beautiful ornament or a necklace. Then you can also use them behind any of the pieces. They look really fabulous, and they come in gold and they come in silver. So, and they look great if you use them with the faces too. So there's just a lot of different combinations that you can use these for. And as well, there's going to be little, I don't have the large sheet of this, but these are just little teeniest crowns, and they're so beautiful with ribbons that come off to the sides. I hope you can see that. And then these little medallions, which we're going to actually be using on this project. And they come in a sheet like this, and you just tear them off with your fingers. You don't even have to use scissors. They're just like, they're so easy to work with. And they look really, really fabulous. And we're going to use these on this project that we're going to work with today. So I think that's all of the stuff that I wanted to talk about before we got started. There's a couple more things, but I'll go through and we'll talk about that as we get going. Okay, so the project that we're going to do today is this one, and I've called it Destiny. And that's because that's the name of the set that I used in here. And this is a new spring, well, actually summer 2015 release. And those will be available in September. And that is this piece here. And this is actually the crown that it comes with. I don't know if you can see there. This is the crown that it's going to come with, this little head piece. And I like this one, but I used it on something else. So I've actually used the crown that comes in the Ancient Soul, which is this piece here, this crown on this set. Because I like to really mix and match them and use the different ones for different sets. And then we also will use, right now you're going to have to use, because since these aren't going to be out until, well, just really a month away now, but you can use any of the faces on this with the wings, because that's, you know, like I said, they all match and they all look fabulous together. And then the wings that we're going to be using are our Chivalry, and that's these the little chunkier wings here. So we just remove all of the pins, and since we don't need them in here, since we're going to be gluing it down. So okay, well, let's look at this one more time, and then I'm going to move the camera down and we're going to get started on the project. Everybody see that really well? Okay. Okay. All right. So let's get started on it. Okay, so can everyone see? I'm going to try to get a little bit more light here going so you can see it more clearly. How does that look? Can everyone see it really well? And I might be working a little upside down here, so you have to excuse that. So the first thing I did is I used the Archival wooden cases, and actually let me read off some product numbers for you here before we get going on this. And the piece that I used, the actual piece that I used, let's just show that really quickly, is this set. And like I said, it'll be available in September. And it is the Relics and Artifacts Archival Cast of Persona, and the product number is 942656. And that's for this set. And so this is the set that we're going to be using with the crown is substituted. Then also Chivalry, which is the one where we'll be using the wings, and that's this one. And that's the Relics and Artifacts 941697. And that's for the wings that we're going to use on this project. And then the crown came out of the Ancient Soul, and these are all available right now. The crown came out of the Ancient Soul Relics, and that's 941703. Okay. And then I'm going to kind of go over, I don't have specifics here, but the Dresden trim that we'll use. I do have the SKU numbers, so just so we can see exactly which pieces that we're using here. It's Relics and Artifacts Dresden trim, and it's gold, scallop, and fleur, which is this little piece here. And we're going to use these little ones right here for the corners of this piece. So you can see it's in the corner, and then also it'll go back in here, right back there. Okay, and then we have the trim, and that is the gold Dresden trim, Relics and Artifacts, 942427. Then the rectangle tray, which is from the group of rectangle, and we have the smaller one and then the smaller one that fits inside of there, and that is 941772. And then we will be using, I use the easel to display the piece on, so I'm going to make sure you can see it. Just let me know if I'm not holding it up in the right spot where you can see it. So this is the large easel. And that's what I love these easels to display the projects on. They just are the perfect piece to use. And that easel is 941819. Then I'm going to go into a couple of the Prima products that I used for the base. So I coated this piece first with some of Prima's texture paste. And can you see that there? There we go. And this is the white crackle, and it's 961503. So that's the first layer that I put on this piece underneath the kind of tan paint that I put over top. So and then also we'll use this the Prima, the 3D gloss gel, and I use that as an adhesive to put the paper backing in underneath here, and that is 961381. And then we also use, let me sit this here so you can see that, down in here to cover the seams, sort of. And if you can see, look right down into the edges of it. And I use the little micro beads, which are really cool because they cover up any little mistakes you might make, and it just makes it look really great. They're a really nice little finish. And these bronze ones are my favorite of all the colors. They look like a mineral, sort of. And that is Art Ingredients, Finibers, and bronze, and they are 962586. And then we also use the mica powder, and that you can see here on the wings, just on the little tips of the wings, these little edges, and then here on the crown. And then we can put a little bit of it inside of here on the Dresden pieces as well. And this is, again, Finibers mica powder, and this is the gold. It's 962524. And then, so you see the Dresden trim around here, all of this. And I've used this trim, and we're going to antique it, but then to further antique it, so this has got like this nice little really aged looking edge on it. And I used the Prima's palette markers for that. And these are really great. They have a thick chisel tip at one end, and then for coloring in a lot more, a lot of area. And then we have a really nice fine point at this end. And they're just perfect for the relics. The resin soaks it in, and it looks really great. So we're going to use that to actually antique around the edges of the Dresden here and here. And those are the actual one I used is the Prima, and it's a warm gray, and the number is 576455. And then the last couple of things I have used here is the Prima chalkboard paint, which I love because it's got a really nice matte finish, even though I'm not using it for a chalkboard, but it just has such a great matte finish, and I like that kind of non-glossy look. And this is in eggshell, and it's 577162. And then I've actually used a couple more of Prima's chalkboard paints here, and I'll show you those when we get a little closer to that part. And this is the Sea Breeze, and this one is olive, golden olive. And let me just get the numbers off of these really quick because I didn't have them before. The golden olive is 577209. That's this one. And then the Sea Breeze, which is beautiful aqua color. Turquoise is my favorite color. And this number is 577230. And here you can see the all colors that it comes in. So it's just gorgeous paint. It's got a great texture. I love it. So let's get started on this. So the first thing we did, like I mentioned before, is I gave it the whole thing a coat of this white texture and let it dry. And that's just on the sides, all the sides, and a little bit on the interior. And then I went in and I have just some tan craft paint. And I kind of pre-painted this so that we don't have to listen to the dryer drying the whole thing. Oh, and also I wanted to mention Finnabair has got some new paint brushes that are out, and these are the best brushes. I don't have the SKU on these, but they're fabulous. I love them. They're really nice quality, and it's really nice to have like a good quality set of brushes to use. It's like so important. So we're going to go through, and what I did was just use the tan and just kind of scrub it in. And you can see it's really rough on here. And I just scrubbed, like just actually scrub it in so that you have kind of a rough look to it. And you just leave that kind of scrubbed in look on there. And that's kind of what you get once it's dry. It's really just rough, almost looks like a sponge, but you get more paint coverage when you use a brush on here. So that's that part. Now, then what I went through is, the next thing I actually did was go in and paint the pieces that I'm going to use. I'm going to turn this around for you. So I went in and painted these pieces. Now this is where the Prima eggshell comes in. And see this matte texture that it just gives it the best. It's really eggshell. It just feels like that. And the resin, it just changes the texture of the surface. And it's so nice. And that's the eggshell paint. So I just give it a couple of coats. I think I might have put 2 coats on here. And then set it aside and let this be drying while we're working on the other pieces. Okay, so I have a little bit of what I'm going to start doing, and so I want to get this up here so you can see it better. So if you look in here, you see this little kind of turquoise bits of paint, and it kind of, there's mottled edges here and kind of in there. I hope you can see this. Down around here. It's all kind of mottled and just looks like kind of like a salt deposit. And actually what I paint that with is I collect minerals, so like crystals and turquoise and different kinds of mineral specimens. And so I used one of my actual mineral specimens to kind of go off of as inspiration. And here's what it looks like. So that's kind of what we're going to do on this piece. We're going to come in and start creating that effect. And we just get a little bit of the sea breeze color, and you just start rubbing it on there. And I don't have any like special paint techniques or anything like that. It's just kind of loose and rough and simple. I don't like to do anything that's really involved painting wise, and it keeps it simple and it keeps it fun, so you don't have real hard things that you've got to learn. So I just kind of go through and just put it in random spots, and almost like it has stained like that, or something has spilled on it. And you kind of do the inside and do the outside of it. So you'll put a little of it on the outside and then go inside the corners. And if you guys have questions, that would be really good. I can answer anything that you need to know. If I'm not explaining something correctly, or if I'm leaving something out. So you do this edge and on this edge, and just kind of go down, just sort of like, I guess, like just a little salt deposit or something. It just gives it a really fun look. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use a little bit of the golden olive in the chalkboard paint as well. And we'll go in and kind of give it another shading. I'll put one more right around here. I think that's good. A little bit on the outside, even though we're going to be gluing the trim around it. Some of it will show and some of it won't. So I'll put a little bit more right here. So then you want to move on to your next color, and I don't even bother cleaning the brush because it just gets blended in and it looks fine. So what you want to do then is color, then start painting just a little bit on the outside of that. And it's subtle. You may not be able to see it really well. Let me see if you can, no. There you go, maybe a little bit. You can see it right there. So you'll just go in and paint on just on the outside of that. Just really roughly. And what we're doing is just kind of trying to get, no, that's real dark. Trying to get that look. There, you can see that a little bit better. So, and you'll just go around the whole thing and paint each little bit. And just maybe like 1/4 of an inch. So it's like a little, you're growing this little spot that you've already been working on. And like I said, it's going to be subtle, but to the eye, it'll be really, really pretty. Those little tiny subtle things that you do to it really make a lot of difference. Okay. So I thought I was going to have to dry this, but it's kind of drying with all the lights as we're working on it here. So you just go in and paint around the edges of the piece that you just, all the little edges. And with a piece like this, the rougher that you make it, the less uniform, and it actually makes it prettier, I think. And it's not about being perfect. It's just about being pretty, getting it pretty. So, and we just go around the edges and get all this in. And then what we're going to do then after this light green, we'll go in with just a kind of a tan color. And you can use this technique on anything, on paper, on anything that you choose on. It's really on a canvas would look nice as well too. It's just kind of a natural, organic kind of look. So I'll finish this up, and then let's get some of the tan. And the same thing with the tan, it's just the same. We're going to do the same exact thing with a little bit darker to kind of make the little spot. So you can see here, you can see that's just kind of the beginning of that. And like I said, it's pretty subtle, but it's really pretty when you're looking at it in person. You can see it. It's a little hard to see with the lighting. We'll have to work on the lighting more. So we want to go and just use like a tan color now. And you can see here that it's kind of hidden under some of the Dresden actually, but it peeks through and it's pretty when you see it. So you just want to go around that green then. You see that there? Go around the green on the outside of it. And it kind of looks a little floral maybe, like a little blossom. And you don't have to be real perfect either. Your outside edge And you want to do all the edges the same. And like I said, you don't have to be too precise. Just kind of scrub the paint around, get it in there. Now you can kind of start to see it's starting to look a little more like this piece. You see that? Okay, so I'll just go around and do both sides and let it curl around the edge. That way, when you have it up in display in your house, it looks nice from all different angles. Okay, and go around here. And you can take more time with it and really kind of ruffle it up and go in and out and create the, you know, take as much time with it as you like when you're working by yourself. I'm just kind of rushing so we get through all of it today. I always think that I'm not going to have enough time, or I'm going to have too much time, and I never know how to judge projects time-wise. Because I work on things, I'll work on something for a little bit, and then I'll set it down, and then I'll go do something, take my dogs outside, and then come back in for a little while. And so I never really know how to judge how long it takes to make something in real time. So you just go through and just go around. We have a couple more little spots to do. And I really like the way that this technique makes it look. And it's super, super simple to do. Really, all of the things that I do on my pieces are not, there's not a lot of really involved work. It's not about, like, I don't really do soldering. I want to learn how to do that, though. And eventually I will. But for me, it's just about kind of the ease of stuff and the ease of the product that you use also. That's why I love this Dresden so much, because it's so simple to use and you can put it on things, and it really turns out looking so much like a nice metal bezel, except it's much easier to work with and no burns. So one more little piece here, and then the last bit that we're going to do on here, and I thought I was going to have to use my dryer to get this dry, but it's drying with the lights as we work on it. So that's the last bit there. So what I did after this, let me show it to you a little closer now. So you can see here, this is what we've got. You have a good view of that there. Kind of inside and here. So then what I did is I use a lot of pencil. I don't know why, it's just because it's another really simple thing to use, but this is just a number 2 pencil. And you want to go around and just kind of squiggle around it. And I don't know if you can see. I'm going to get it up here close where you can see it a little bit better. You see that? So you're just making, just kind of following the lines that you put in with the pencil, and you'll go around and do all of those like that. And you don't have to be precise, just kind of, it really turns out nice looking in it, and it looks like, again, the mineral deposit, or just very organic. And you follow the edge on the outside. And see here, can you see this? And it's really simple, and it is a very, very organic look that you wind up with. You just go in and run your pencil through the whole outside of the edge. And it defines it and gives it a real nice finish. So I'm going to do that to all of these pieces. You know, maybe like a geode, if any of you collect minerals also, or know anything about stones and stuff like that, it kind of looks like a natural geode, or the formations that natural marble and granite make. That's kind of what it looks like. I guess that's a better way to describe it. So you see how we're going just around the edges. You see that? And like I said, you don't have to follow it really closely. You just want to kind of just creates this effect. And you go all the way around them, all the way around them. And then what you can do also to come in and add a little more is go into like the centers and just kind of do a little bit of soft, and that even creates that kind of geode marbling effect even more. So we'll do it a little on the outside, we'll do it all around the outside, and then where you feel like you want to add a little more, go in and do it around the inside. And that brings it up a little more, and you can go around the green and around the blue, and just it's real free form and freestyle, and it just creates the prettiest finish, I think, and something that's real fun and real simple and kind of very organic, real kind of modern and ancient looking at the same time. So do a little more here. I like these on the edges and the corners, and I always kind of make them go in and out and up and down, and it just looks real pretty. So let's see if you can see this now. Actually, kind of on the screen, it looks like a little bit like leopard spots. So that's what we do to get the finish on the outside of the box. Now I'm going to use, go ahead and put the paper down on the bottom. And what I used was just this is a piece, it's a cardstock, but I printed it onto cardstock, but it's just a piece that I painted. And you can use any of the Prima papers. They have so many beautiful papers that would be perfect for the back of this. And I just didn't have any on hand at the moment, but I have them now, but I had already cut this, so we're just going to go ahead and use this one. And I just cut it, kind of put it in and cut it to shape, to fit. Real simple. And then you use the 3D gloss gel. And we're going to use that and one of Finnabair's brushes and just coat the bottom, inside back of your tray. Nice layer of this gel, which is great as an adhesive. Especially for this, it's just perfect to use. You want to go around the edges, the corners, because then what we're going to do is pour in these micro beads, and they will stick to the rest of the gel that's sticking out and adhere to it, and it kind of gives a little bit more, even more look of your mineral and your natural kind of marble look that you're creating. You just want to give it a nice even coat on the bottom. And you're going to love these brushes. They are my favorites. That's all I use now. I won't use anything else. Okay, so we coated in there really well. And I want to make sure that I have a little bit sticking out around the edges so that we have some that will pick up our micro beads once we put them in there. Can you see all that? Just leave a little kind of sticking out there. All right, so and we put our paper down in here. And rub it in so we get it sticking in there good. Now we're going to put the micro beads in and let them, these are the bronze Finnabair Art Ingredients micro beads, which are beautiful. And just kind of pour it in and run it around, and it will stick to, and it will stick to all of our, and you can use, you know, if you wanted to, you can actually put it on the background too. And that may be something I go back in and do. You can see here, it's really subtle, but you could actually put it on some of the background, you know, and then go in and add more micro beads to cover the whole background. And I think actually I'm going to do that later on, because I love working with these. They're so much fun and they're so pretty. So we're going to set that aside for a minute, and we'll knock off the rest of it and save them. Not too many. Okay. So we'll let that dry, and then what we're going to do is we're going to age this Dresden. So let's set this aside a minute. And so you can see here the Dresden is just it's glued around the corners and on the inside. And what you do is you get the Dresden comes like this, and you'll just tear off a piece, and you tear it with your fingers. It's really, really simple. And it just comes right off. It's great, great stuff to work with. You'll love it. So we have this piece, and it's real shiny. It's paper on one side, and on the other side is a gold foil. And I've already cut a couple of pieces here. You can see how it comes really shiny. And let me just show you on this piece here that I've done before. This I left shiny, but I've just painted the edges, and I'm going to bring it up there closer so you can see. Maybe the wings have a little bit of purple on them. And this medallion is one of the foil medallions in the center there. And that's just got a little bit of the Prima markers in purple and turquoise. Let's see if you can see it. Let's see. There, maybe that's a little bit better. So I cut the pieces to fit, cut a couple of pieces to fit, and we want to use like an antique gold paint. Any antique gold will work. And that's just going to bring the shine down some and make it look older and just kind of more aged looking, which I really like the antique look. The shiny look is great for some things, but for this piece I wanted to use this aged look. So you just use your brush and go over it. And you can see as soon as you start painting, it just dulls it right down. Really, really nicely. It dulls it down. And you can give it 1 or 2 coats of paint. It's up to you. However much you want on there. And just, that's it. That's all that you have to do to it to get a nice kind of aged look on there. And you know, you can paint these with other colors too. You can use any like whitewash them. They look fabulous. Turquoise, blues, purples, any color that you want it. Paint hot pink. It's up to you. Any way that you want to paint them, you can paint them in any different colors. So let me wipe this off a little bit here. And the medallion was done exactly the same way. This one, it's a subtle difference, and let me just see if you can see. So these are painted, and this one is still got this shiny surface, like a new penny shiny kind of. So now what we're going to do is we're going to age these pieces, and we're going to make them even more aged. And I used the Prima markers for that. And these are the palette markers, and this one is a warm gray. And like I mentioned before, there's a small tip on one end, which we might be able to use later on, actually. And then the chisel tip on this end. And what you want to do is just go in with the tip of it and brush it along the edges. Can you see that there? Let's see. Okay. And brush it along the edges of your Dresden. and it dries pretty quickly. And you just cover the edges, and we're doing this here, so it doesn't take much to get them done, and it just gives it such a great look. And this warm gray tone comes up looking like, once it's on the gold paint, it comes up looking kind of like a bronze, sort of a bronzish color, which is really nice. So we'll do the last two pieces. I pre-cut these pieces, and you just cut them with your fingers. Just pinch it off, and it just cuts right off, and you have that little rough edge, but you won't ever see it because generally you'll either glue it around. If you're going to use it for a bezel, you glue it around and overlap the pieces so that it overlaps like that, and you never see. And look what a cute little piece that makes, a little crown. You can use those for just so many different applications, especially with the relics and artifacts, but you can use this for card making and scrapbooking and all of the things that you already do. So that's all you want to do, is just go around the edges, and then you're going to have this look. That little, just a little bit aged. And so we'll do the same thing with all the little medallions. And the medallions are, we use them on the corners here and then on the inside here. So you just go around the edges, and it's easy, and it's simple, and you don't have to be precise to get a really great look and effect. And I actually kind of do the centers a little bit too, just to give it a little more, even more dimension. And you go around the edges and do a little in the center. Give them a minute, and they'll be dry by the time we get done with the last one. All of this will already be dry. These are really great. Also, I've used these markers on, just to talk about something completely different. They're great. They come in different colors too, in a lot of different colors. So these are great on the intaglios, and the resin just absorbs it like crazy, and it just looks so beautiful. This is the same piece here, finished with just a little bit of watercolor markers. So back to this, and we'll just finish up these last couple pieces. And we're going to get to painting our little cherub's face, which is probably my favorite part of this project. And I know it can be really intimidating sometimes to think about painting a face on something or drawing a face on something. I used to take classes in doll making and in making like replica antique dolls, and so I bought a lot of, you probably saw at the beginning of this behind me, I have some antique dolls, and I would buy them and study the way that they were painted so that I could, because when you look at it in person, you can actually see the brush strokes that the artist that painted them long ago, they made. And it was the best way. I had a lot of different books that I bought about doll making and painting faces, and I learned more from just buying a couple of antique dolls and really just studying the brush strokes that were made on them. And so it was kind of hard. It was kind of hard in the beginning, I have to admit. But I started really looking at it, and I noticed that they didn't paint it in one. Some of them did, but these were like master artists. But some of them would just paint, and they would like paint one fell swoop, and they would get the lips in one stroke, and then the eyes in another stroke, and they were just like, I guess after they were done hundreds of dolls, they really knew what they were doing. But since I was doing my first few, I didn't really know how to do it, so I started in with little tiny strokes and learned how to do the lips and the eyes and the eyelashes and little eyebrows, and it's a lot easier. I'm going to show you a kind of a simpler technique to do to get a really great looking little face on your piece. And you don't have to be a master doll artist to do it. So, okay, so these pieces should be dry already because the marker dries right away. Yeah. So we can go ahead and glue it on. I think it'll be easier to do that first. So we're going to go ahead and start gluing these pieces, the trim pieces, onto the edges here. Now, you see? And what I did on this one is you can do it however you choose. You can do it, it's simpler if you want to just glue it straight down like this, using the edge to edge, like that. Or I folded this in half. On this one you can see here. And half of it is covering the back edge of this, and then the other half of it goes onto the top. So either way you want to do it, you can fold this down, so you glue it to the back edge and then fold the piece down like that. Fold it down and glue it on. And I used a kind of a thicker glue to glue these on with. And one trick that I can tell you that works really good with this is that you put the glue all the way up into the each little peak, and it just takes a second to do it, but it'll save you gluing later, going back in and trying to glue each little peak down, because they do kind of want to stick up a bit. So I'm going to, for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and glue this straight down on top of it and not bend them over, and it'll go quicker. And it kind of will stick it into your frame a little bit, and you can see the difference if this one is glued on top and this one is glued down over the edge. So we'll just go through and glue on all of it and run some glue down it, and then go up and do all your little corners. And really, couldn't be simpler to do this. And the great part about these Dresden, again, is that you can mold it to any shape that you've got. If you've got a round ornament that you're decorating, it'll go all the way around it. You can put it on the top, anywhere. You see there? Then we'll take the last two smaller pieces, the shorter ones that go on the sides, and do the same thing. Glue bead down the center, and then up into your peaks. And you'll want to take a little more time when you're doing it. And you can also use a toothpick. And if you want to be really, really precise about where your glue goes, use a toothpick to put it up on those little corners, up on the edges. And let's see. Can you see that? Okay. And then we'll do the last little piece here. Then we'll put the medallions on the corners, the four that go on the corners. Then we'll get to our face painting. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's the last piece of trim right there. And there you have it. So it's starting to come together. Just make sure all your little pieces are down. Let's turn this around so you can see that. And we'll put on the 4 medallions that go in the corner, and just again a little bit of glue. And that finishes the corners really lovely. And then use one on each corner, and then the other ones that we will put on either side of the face when we get there. And we'll let this dry some while we're painting the face and the wings and the crown. Okay, so that's where we're at. And it's starting to look like it. Okay, so with the face, we'll set this aside to dry. So with the face and the wings and the crown, here we go. And these pieces are pre-painted, and like I mentioned, I painted them with the chalk paint, the eggshell, and I used 2 coats on here, and it just gives it this really great matte finish that is just so nice to work with. So okay, well, I'm going to turn this around. Let's do the crown and the wings first, and we're going to use a little bit more of the same exact gold that we use. I want to keep this in the frame so you can see what we're doing here. And just use some more of the same gold and a little bit smaller brush here, and we'll start with the crown. And what I did was, instead of going just painting the whole thing, just kind of do the edges, and you just go in and paint the edges like this. And if the paint is kind of gunky on the, like I said, my painting is not super technical. It's really simple and sort of messy, but it comes up looking like it's an antique piece that's kind of had some age and some wear to it. So you just want to go around and just do the edges, the outside edges. And you can also do the top like that. I don't know if you can see in here, but the top is done as well. So, and it kind of makes it, gives it a shadow. So once you've got it glued into your box, you it just kind of gives it a shadow back there and looks dark, and it's just a nice little finish on here. And then you'll do the sides, just a little bit on the sides, and then back up again here. Make sure you can see all of this. And same thing, it's not a real specific technique. You just kind of dab the paint on and then do the top. And then what we will do is we will go in and do the little design that's on this crown, actually. And you can use the same brush. You just get a little paint on the edges, and like I said, it's not about being real specific either. You just kind of follow the design. Hope you can see this here. Follow the design that's already on there, and you don't have to be precise. You just kind of just bringing up the detail, just sort of highlighting the detail with the gold paint. So you're going across it. There's another little design here. And that just, and when you have little spots that paint didn't get adhered to, it's good. Just leave it, because it turns out looking more antique. So we'll move on to the wings. And the same exact technique that we used on the crown, we're going to use on the wings. And I use kind of a little bit of glumpy paint on the end, like that. And just pull it. You start at the corner of a wing and just start pulling it in. And you just pull it in. You get some more paint, and you start at the top and just pull it in, like that. Here. And you just want to do the top edges of your wings. Each feather kind of go around, and just like you're doing the outside edge of the feather. Can you see that there? You see where you just pick up on the outside edges of the feathers. And down here, same thing. And you can see it's done exactly like that here. So it's not hard, really, really simple. But it gives it a real nice effect. It gives it a shaded effect and almost gives it like some movement, like it's got a little movement in it. And you just do the edges here and here, all the way around. And you can go back in and put as much or as little paint as you want on there. And this is just an antique gold paint, just a craft paint, really inexpensive. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over that with the mica powder, and that just pops it up and makes it gleam. It's so pretty. So here we do just the edges, and you go in and catch the edge here. There's another little set of feathers there. You just catch those edges and you pull it in, and there you've got a really, really nice paint effect. That's something really super, super simple to do. Okay. So I might have to dry this a little bit, but maybe by the time we're done with the face, this will be dry. I won't have to worry about turning on the dryer and blasting everyone out. Okay, so that's the wings and the crown. So let me put these here in front of you. You can see this, hopefully. So they're done the same technique. And just the edges, kind of edges of them. And now what we're going to work on is the face, our little face. And so again, I'm using just really inexpensive craft colors. And this is a little kind of a sort of a salmon pink color, red. And then we need some blue for the eyes. This is the lip color, and we put in the eyes and in the nose a little bit of the red. In the eyes, I have this kind of it's like a sort of a sky blue color. And then we will use a taupe color for the eyebrows and the eyes, around the eyes, and then that little bit of curly hair right here at the top. So I'll just pour out a little bit, because you don't need very much. You're not going to use a whole lot of the paint, a whole lot of your paint for this. It's just the smallest little amounts of paint. And then we have a really fun little thing that we're going to do on the cheeks to make this really pretty little rosy cheek look. So when you're working with these craft paints, they're already kind of thin, but I use a little bit of water and kind of use them almost like a watercolor sort of. And you work with your brush wet and get the brush wet first. And then you just want to use just the smallest amount of paint on here, and you're making like a little watercolor wash. Just a little bit of water and a little bit of paint till you feel like you've got it to a pretty workable consistency. And then you just start, and I'm going to work on this facing me so I get it right. But so instead of going in and painting the whole thing like that, and you want to go in and start with just one little tiny brush stroke. That way, if you make a mistake, it's not gonna show, and you'll just build on these brush strokes. So you go where there would be the widest point of the mouth and the widest point of the mouth right here, and then you put another little stroke in, and another one, and go smaller and then bigger, and you see you've kind of got that little Cupid's bow right here already. So it's just about making these little brush strokes, one line, another line, small, 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 and you're using the tiniest little detail brush, and you just build it out just like that. And you keep your your paint that you're working with watery. I guess that's the best point I can give about that. Is you just the more wet it is, the easier it's going to flow. So, and then you just do this with a little line. It's just a line, 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 little tiny lines. And if you just put a little line on, I mean, anybody can put a bunch of little lines together and make a lip. And it's so much simpler to do that. And then if you want to go in and you see you want it to be a little higher on this side, you just add a little more paint. Or if you want the color to be a little darker, and you just go in until you've got the upper lip exactly the way you want it. And it's really simple, and it's a lot simpler than you think when you get started. So we're going to do the bottom lip, and since it's kind of thicker all the way around, we'll just go in and just do the little lines, and then smaller all the way up. And it doesn't have to meet. It doesn't have to meet up there at the top. It can be a little bit open. If you ever look at any antique dolls or antique porcelain that's been painted, it's not real precise either. It kind of just gives the illusion of being precise. But you just go in and get it close. And these little lines also, when you're painting with the little lines like that, it becomes of more of a look of an antique. So let me get this up to you here. So it's just a series of a bunch of little lines, really. And it's not hard to do. And you'll see that once, if you want to, practice on some paper and first, and then go in when you've got it down, and then go in and put it on your resin piece. So also in the nose, you'll just put the smallest little red line in there, and the smallest little red line also on the other side. And that's the nostril, and that's how they paint the antique ones. If you ever take a look at some antiques in an antique shop or somewhere like that, that's how the antique ones are painted. And then the eyes also has a little dot right in the corner of the red. And I guess that's just, I don't know how they painted the dolls back then. So that's all we're going to do with the red paint. And you can see here maybe, yeah. It's subtle, but it looks great when you're up close. So let's go in and we'll do the eyebrows. And we're going to use the same exact technique, and then around the eyes. And you want to get your paint and you want it to be wet. You make just a nice little wet mixture. And using the same exact technique, you start kind of in the middle where the eyebrows would start, and you just do a bunch of little lines again. And the lines can meet, and they can be as thin or as thick as you like, and you just kind of come around. Just follow the line around. On the brow bone, you can see that it's there. And it's really a lot simpler than you think. And like I said, use a piece of paper to start, practice on. Then when you get comfortable with it, when you feel like you're there, and you can add in a little more where you want. Go back in and add in. And I should tell you that one of the things, this is a doll brush, and I've trimmed the brush itself, and you can see the very corner of it. I trimmed it up and just left just a few hairs on here, so you're just really working with a very a super trimmed down brush. It's a detail brush already, but I trimmed it down even more. And you just use a little tiny pair of scissors to do that, and you trim off the hairs, and then you have just this really fine point. And that's what makes it really simple to do those little thin lines. And again, keeping your paint really moist with a lot of water. Actually, more water than paint. So then we come in, and we're just going to start here and right on the lid. And these relics, they've got, the pieces they're cast from antiques, and so you've got a spot to work from. You don't have to just put it anywhere. You can see there's a little lid on there, and you just go right over that. And then on the bottom, same thing. You just follow that line. It's already there for you. You just put the paint right on it. And underneath the eye, same thing. The line's already there. Now, you can see that. Yeah. So you just keep your brush wet, and I'm going to put in a couple of little tiny eyelashes here on the side. And on top. On this side, same thing, a few little eyelashes. And then this needs more, even more water, because the finer that you want your lines, the more water you need to have in it. And a couple on the bottom. And on this side. And there. And there you've got this portion done. Then you just go in and you just use the same brush. You just need this little tiny brush. Then I use that sky blue and make the eyes, and you just go in and fill it in with paint. As big as you want them to be, or as small as you want them to be. And let's see this side. There we go. And you just put a little paint in there. And the eyes have the little pupil and the iris there, and you just kind of follow the lines that are already there for you. So what I want to do now is I think I'm going to add just a little bit more paint and make sort of a crease up here in the eye, just to give it a little more dimension. And then we're going to go in with another doll making technique and add some makeup to her. So one more thing. Now I've got a dark brown, and we're going to do the very centers of the eye, and that kind of like makes them pop out and makes her look like she's real. And you can use a toothpick for that. And that makes it super, super simple. So you're just going to use a toothpick and dip a little in your brown paint, and then you just dot the center. And on this side too, and you just dot the center. And you want to do it, let's see, and just put a dot in there, really, really simple. And then also with this, use some white, because generally they'll have like just a little white dot in there as well. And you just use the other end of your toothpick to do that, to put the white dot in there. And that just brings it to life, really. One little tiny dot and another little tiny dot. And it just makes it look awake. Okay, so you have the face painted. Let's go ahead and do the hair, a little bit of the hair. And I'm going to use the same exact color that we were using for the eyebrows to do on the hair. And just give it a little bit. And to here, it's molded for you, and so all you have to do is just follow the little curls and the little crevices and get the paint on there, and it just will go right in and look perfect. And you can put as much as or as little as you want on. So that's just a little bit of hair on here. Okay, so now let's do the cheeks, and then we're going to put a little bit on the eyes too. Add a little bit more to the eyes. So the cheeks is really something I use like old makeup. Like this is an old blush, and you can use any kind of inexpensive blush, but it's real blush, and I use a little bit of that. And I actually have some that I found at an antique store, and this is I don't know, it's probably like from the 40s or something, and it's a really sort of bright color pink. But when you get it on, look at that. It's almost like neon. But if you blend it with another one, and you have a little bit of combination of the two. And so you use a makeup sponge, and I should talk to you about that first too. I use makeup sponges just like regular makeup sponges like this. But what I did with this, to make them so that they're more workable, and we're going to be working with a small piece, so I cut it in half like that. And then again, if you want it even smaller, because we're working with smaller pieces, you want to trim your makeup brush, your makeup sponge down. And so you come with a piece about this size, you know, and you can make them as small as you want. And then to even further trim it down, go ahead and go in and cut the corners like this. And I know it's probably hard to see, but you cut each corner till you have yourself like a little, sort of a little round surface that you use. And this is also good for painting too, if you use makeup brushes for your paints. And so you start out with a great big sponge like that, and you wind up with a little piece that's kind of got a chiseled edge on it like that. And so that's what this one is. That's what I've done here. You can see. So you just go in and you start in the center of the cheek area and just rub out like that. And then you take another sponge and you rub around the edges and soften them. That softens that hard edge up, you see there? So it just gives this really sweet kind of rosy glow to your piece. And so you just rub it on. You want to kind of rub it in there, rub it in. And if you like that edge like that, you can leave it that way. Or if you want it, you know, blend it out, you just use another sponge, a clean sponge, and blend it out. And that just makes the softest little edge on your doll face there. Just gives it a really sweet little rosy glow, and you can see that's what it is. So it is actually makeup on your piece. And that's just, I don't know, it's a technique I've been using for a whole lot of years, and I like it. It's fun to do, and it's fun to play with it that way. So then I use an eyeshadow, an actual eyeshadow as well. This is just a brown, kind of a little bit frosty eyeshadow. And the same thing, so I've made a sponge even smaller. So I've cut this one actually in half and made it even smaller because we want to get it into the eye area, and that way you don't have, you know, your makeup all over it. So you make a little tiny bit and you just go right in there and you put as much or as little as you want on. And that's what you get. It's just a really soft, really subtle look. And that's pretty much all we do on this piece. So I bet you didn't think you'd be using makeup on your relics. So now what we're going to do, I'll set him here. So now what we're going to do is use the Finnabair, the Mica art ingredients, the Mica powder in gold. And this is, we'll go around and do the edges of this. And it's almost dry now. So I didn't have to use the dryer on anything. And I made myself some little applicator sponges. Out of these same bits of makeup sponge. It's real simple. You just use a wooden craft stick and you fold it over the stick like this. You use a little piece of wire around it, twist it, and you can buy applicators everywhere, but just sometimes when I'm run out of stuff and I don't want to run out when I'm in the middle of a project, and I'll just make my own little applicators like this. And they're great to use, and it's like I said, you can buy really good applicators, but if you run out of stuff and you're at home and you don't want to quit working on your project and you want to finish, that's what I use. So that's what this is. And you just need just a slight little amount of this mica on here, and you just go around, and it just, look at it, it's gorgeous. It just pops it up. And you just want to follow the lines that you did. Can you see that? I know you can see it glowing. So you just want to follow the same lines that you used when you were painting it. And you just go around just the edges. You don't want to get it on all of the entire piece, just on the edges. And look at the difference. I mean, I think it makes a huge difference. And it sure does when you look at it in person. It just glows, really glows. And it's so beautiful. All of these, the Finnabair mica powders are just beautiful. And here we go around the edges. And this would even look nice, just thinking about it, with if you want to add more color to it. And add, like, use the mica powders in like the purples and the pink tones, and the fuchsias would look really pretty. You could just really, really make it look gorgeous. So you just want to use it just along the edge where you painted, same edge that you painted. And it just starts to glow. It's beautiful. Okay. And then the crown, we'll do the same exact thing. Can you see those pieces? Let me scoot them in here. So that's where we're getting closer to this. And then the crown, we're going to do the same exact thing. You just go on the edge that you painted. And all the way around. Just following the same places that you put the gold paint. And top and bottom, same thing. Okay, so there you have that piece. Now we're going to stick this on in our tray. Let me see. Here we've got the tray. Let me see everything here. Get it all in so you can see what we're working on now. So here we've got our tray that was gluing, and it is dry now. So then you want to just get your pieces, your relics pieces, your painted relics pieces, and arrange them. So you can put them anywhere that you want them, wherever you are happy with it. And virtually it looks the same. So let me see where we are with time. Okay. Okay. So you want to just glue those down. And you can use I just use like a glue, a thick adhesive. And then we'll put these little medallions down. And you can arrange those where you want. This is just where I happen to put these pieces. I thought they looked kind of nice in this arc above this, like that, and closer together, further apart, wherever you like. And there we go. So you just want to use your thick glue and adhere it together. And then I finished off with some rhinestones. You can see here I used little rhinestones, and on the crown. So let's put the rhinestones on. And I just use the thick glue. I'll just do the one in the center so you can see here. There. And then I put another one here and another one here. And then also in the corners here, used this little these little turquoise beads that I found in an antique shop, and they're just little. You can use any kind of beads. I have just a little selection here of beads, and put those turquoise beads in the centers here, in the centers of the gold medallions. And there we go. Okay. And that's the project, I believe. I think we're done with it. So let me just arrange it so that it's all on here. And that's it. So if you want any more ideas for this, and there are lots of ideas, we have lots of ideas for these and some of the new relics that are coming out, you can go to primamarketinginc.com, and you can also go to sandraevertson.com and order any of these pieces that you've seen here. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll do what I can to answer them. And I just want to say hello to everyone in the tribe. Thank you guys for coming. It's been really fun. I felt a little bit like Alice in Wonderland today. So thank you for coming, and I hope we get to do this again. I hope it wasn't too long or too short, but I have a lot of projects planned. So like I said, I have a lot of projects planned. So I'm gonna be doing a few more. Yeah, I guess I wanted to show, like, this is one of the Milagros, and done as a jewelry piece. I like them as jewelry. As big as they are, I like them as jewelry. So they're really fun to finish that way. And another piece I wanted to show, we're also coming out with the wood backs. This is the same piece that we did, only it's a free form. It's free hanging. So we'll have a wood back that this will all be adhered to. You can adhere to it and add your little bits of lace. And anyway, so here's the piece and here's the piece. And I think that's it. So thanks for joining me. See you later.